Hi, we are here at Devoxx 2015, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Mark Reinhold. Mark, thank you very much for chatting with us
Sure,
today.
anytime.
And obviously, Mark doesn't really need much introduction. Chief Platform Architect, Java Group, did a keynote yesterday
Yep.
speaking about the latest upcoming version of Java. So I'm going to jump straight in with that.
Okay.
Can you give us an overview of what you were talking about yesterday
Overview.
for the people of Devoxx?
Okay, so the big feature in Java 9 is the module system. We've been working on this in Project Jigsaw for for a long time now. Key benefits of modules are reliable configuration and strong encapsulation, two things that you do not get on the class path. We've applied the module system to the JDK and the platform itself, so you can choose just the parts of the platform that you need. And of course, you can also use it on your own code so that you too can escape the class path.
On the subject of the module system, I know there's been a bit of a panic from elsewhere in the ecosystem about the fact that modules are going to break things. I don't want to use the word Java apocalypse, but there's been some hyperbole, it's fair to say.
There's certainly been some hyperbole, yeah.
What would you think would you say that it is going to be a problem for people, or?
So we are taking the opportunity in modularizing the JDK to basically pay down a bunch of technical debt. Among other things, we've cleaned up a lot of things. The JDK grew up as this monolithic system where anything could refer to anything else. We've gotten rid of a lot of that just so we could have a clean set of modules. But also, especially in order to further our goals of improving platform security, we are going to hide most internal APIs behind module boundaries. And this is a fairly strict thing. It's not just a convention, it's actually in language and VM terms, it's access control. The same mechanism that keeps a private method private will prevent you from accessing a class or interface in a package that's not exported by the module that defines it. So most internal APIs will be encapsulated in that way. But we do know that there are some internal APIs are extremely popular. Sunmisk Unsafe is the standard example, and some of these internal APIs do things that you would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to do outside of the JDK. And we know that some important libraries and applications depend on them. So those APIs we will leave available in JDK 9. They'll be in a special module which is going to be called JDK Unsupported, just to make it very clear that this is unsupported stuff.
So
but they'll be there. If you want to use this, it's at your own risk. You're playing with a sharp knife.
For Java Mavericks.
Yeah, so you can still do that. Our hope over time, our intent over time, and we've already done some of this, is to create public supported APIs that provide much of the functionality that you find in things like Sunmisk Unsafe, but in a safe, controlled, and supportable way. And eventually, libraries that use Sunmisk Unsafe today can migrate to that. Sunmisk Unsafe will eventually go away once those things have been defined and adopted.
So you're basically evolving it out of the ecosystem.
We're moving it slowly, with sensitivity to its current use. The less so other categories of internal APIs are, there are things that people use just because it was convenient. Sunmisk base64 decoder. Well, okay, come on, you can do that on yourself. There are plenty of libraries that do it for you. That's just going to go away.
Okay.
Sorry, deal with it. And we've done a lot of analyses of existing bodies of code, and in one of our presentations this week we have a graph and it's the usual long tail power distribution where Sunmisk Unsafe and base64 decoder are at the top, and then there's this long tail of little things that are used by some code. We've found some jar files we found on Maven Central and various products, but the usage frequency is very low. Those are just going to go away too. But there's always an escape hatch. If you have an existing system that you can't change and you really need to get it running on 9, there's a command line flag you can use that will let you force one of those internal packages to be exported no matter what.
So, are there drawbacks to using this? Or
you have to have access to the command line.
Okay.
But if you have access to the command line, you already have godlike powers, so that's okay.
Elsewhere in Java 9, away from obviously the modules are the big singing, head dancing feature.
Oh, is there anything else? I guess there is.
Frank Goetz has mentioned JShell/REPL as kind of a sleeper feature.
The REPL. Oh yeah, the REPL is great. Robert Field, the guy behind that, did a talk I think yesterday.
There's been a lot of discussion about that as well. I think people are actually kind of quietly excited about that.
Yeah, no, the REPL is ultra cool. I've wanted a REPL in Java for years. I'm an old Lisp guy, and Lisp is all about the REPL. So being able to type in Java expressions and do that is great.
Is that going to make a big difference for developers, or?
Well, I agree with the characterization of sort of sleeper feature. You know, something big like Lambda or generics or modules. Yeah, that's a big out there feature. I think the REPL is something that people who know what a REPL is are immediately excited about it. People who don't, it might take them a while to learn about it and then realize, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
A little analogous to parallel streams in Java 8. People kind of, as it caught on, more people started talking about it. And playing around with it.
It'll be more of a kind of a groundswell type thing. Yeah.
And looking ahead, obviously Java 9 there's significant things happening, but it's fair to say Java 10 is a bit more of going to be a bit more developer-oriented release on par with Java 8.
I'd like to think that every release is a developer-oriented release.
In terms of, I mean, more kind of the individual developer, whereas Java 9 is probably, it's fair to say modularization is not going to affect everyone.
Oh, it will.
Instantly? Do you think instantly?
Well, as I said in the keynote, it is true. Modules are, by their nature, a different kind of feature than something like Lambda or generics, which are easy to understand in the small, and it's easy to take some existing code and use add generics, add lambdas to it in small ways and get going with it fairly quickly. Modules are addressing things at a larger grain. So you need to think more about how your entire how your library is going to be used by others, or how your entire system is composed and assembled, and it's going to take longer to adopt, and we understand that. The adoption of Java 8 is the fastest we've seen in many years, because Lambda and streams were just very compelling.
From Java 6 I guess, to Java 8.
Lots of people skipped 7. Nine we do not expect it to be adopted as quickly as 8. And that's okay. So in a sense, I guess I'm agreeing with you. Assuming we get value types done for 10, that will be.
Do you think value types will be a big thing for 10?
Could be. That's peering into the future.
Like what, 2?
It's certainly the next big thing we would like to do. Value types and having generic types over primitives. It'll be a big improvement for memory footprint and performance. Value types. My guess is they'll be a bit different from Lambda. Lambda is something that everybody could use, and of course we also use throughout the JDK libraries. Value types are something that many people will benefit from without changing their own code. If we get value types right, and then we upgrade all the standard collection classes and various other data structure types in the JDK, there will be immediate benefit to existing applications without any code change. Whereas Lambda, internal use of Lambda didn't necessarily help existing code that much. But internal use of value types definitely will. You won't need to be using value types yourself in order to get the benefits. Of course you can, and you'll probably get even more benefits.
Elsewhere in Java, I know there was a lot of talk about Java in the IoT, this Java 1. Is this an area that excites you for the future of Java, or are you kind of thinking about Java in mobile?
It's an interesting area, but I guess my brain is so full just trying to keep the JDK and SE on track. I definitely have contact with people working on IoT type things, both inside and outside of Oracle. And yeah, there are definitely exciting opportunities, especially when you can take a modular JDK 9, strip it down to just the 3 or 5 modules that you need plus your app, and put that in a small device. Yeah, that's definitely something we're aiming to support. Yeah, the IoT stuff is evolving kind of in its own way, and it's just
It's
not.
life of its own, really.
Yeah,
It's
I
taken
don't
flight.
have
The
a lot.
marketers have got hold of it.
I don't have time to pay deep attention to it, but we're definitely trying to help out there where we can.
And in other areas of Java, I did crowdsource a few questions last night from developers, things that they kind of would be eager to know. Is I'm pronouncing it right,
Nashorn. German.
Is this still a priority for Java now, or are they going to be? Is there still energy being put into this?
So Nashorn, from my point of view, is largely done.
Okay.
Right.
So it's kind of, you see it as a complete thing.
Yeah, I mean, Oracle is still investing in it. We still have a few people working on it. We want to keep, improving performance here and there, improving its connection with Java and other languages on the JVM. In 9, Attila Szigeti is going to integrate his Dynalink API, which is internal to Nashorn now, but we're hoping to make that a JDK specific but supported API in 9. And there's been some other performance work along the way, but at this point it's an ECMAScript 6 compliant implementation. It performs pretty well, and for a while we had a big team working on it, and now it's I wouldn't say it's totally in maintenance mode, but it's it's heading that way, and it's the natural life cycle of most kinds of parts of the system.
Going back very long time now, back to the kind of very early beginning days of Java, before it was even Java, when it was Oak. How did you first become acquainted with James Gosling? Because you've worked together obviously for a long time.
So I actually knew James in a slight way long before Java even existed. When I was an undergrad, when I was an undergraduate, and this would have been a long time ago.
15 years
oh yeah, just last week. Yeah. This would be the early 1980s. When I was an undergrad, James was a grad student at Carnegie Mellon University, and he had written his own implementation of the Emacs text editor, which originated at MIT, but he wrote his own because, well, he was a grad student, and who knows, maybe he was doing the usual grad student thing and trying to avoid writing his thesis. Anyway, he wrote this thing, and it ran on the Unixes of the time, Solaris and whatever. I ported it as part of a part-time job I had at my university. I ported it to Vax VMS, and we would exchange emails over what was then called the ARPANET.
Both avoiding your study.
Exactly. We'd exchange emails about problems I found, and I occasionally made suggestions. Where today I would send somebody a patch or do a GitHub pull request. The Larry Walsh patch tool didn't even exist, right? So I would describe the changes I had made as best I could, and sometimes he would integrate them, whatever. So I kind of knew James before he was even at Sun.
And then you just ended up working together.
And then, years later, I went to MIT, did my PhD there. I had a postdoc job in New Jersey that had a limited lifetime. Java kind of appeared on the scene. I looked at it. I downloaded one of the 9 beta 1 builds or something. It only ran on Solaris Spark, so I had to go find a Solaris Spark machine. Played with it. I was like, oh well, that's kind of interesting. And as my postdoc gig ran out, I thought, well, maybe I should go to California and work on Java. I came out to California. I interviewed at a bunch of places, including Oracle, ironically. But I always had my eye kind of set on Sun. If they would hire me to work on Java, that seemed like the thing to do, because it's just.
Did you ever look at any of the other languages in the early days of Java? I know obviously Java followed by JavaScript when it became trendy.
Well, Java and JavaScript didn't really follow Java. It came around the same time, and they're all.
The branding piggybacked on Java. It's fair to say. I guess.
Well. Yeah, the branding of JavaScript was originally called LiveScript, and Sun and Netscape agreed that it could be called JavaScript, and the reasons for that I can't really discuss, but it was done.
Have you ever looked at any of the other JVM languages and
Sure.
really thought, oh, that's exciting, I'd like to kind of play and fork with this, or
Clojure?
Well,
yeah, I mean, as an old Lisp guy, it's a Lisp, right?
True.
And I think Rich Hickey has done some marvelous work in coming up with a clear conceptual model of how to write code that that scales well. You're not taking the pure functional approach of total immutability, but you're having controlled mutability so you can have efficient data structures, but being able to reason about systems in the large, basically as if they were functional. And I think that it's a really interesting mix. And of course it's a Lisp, so that makes it even nicer. But I realize that's not a shared
It's a special niche thing.
shared taste. That's okay too.
So one final question, as obviously architects in your title, we are at Devoxx, and the conference cycle this year, I said the one dominant trend has been microservices.
Yeah.
Have you been paying attention to that?
A bit, yeah, sure.
Do you feel like this is something that Java developers are going to start pushing for uniformly?
Oh yeah, they already are, and many of the Java technologies we already have fit very naturally into this. I mean, you look at REST. We've got Jersey and other kinds of REST frameworks that do that stuff very well.
With the decoupling and kind of getting rid of that, trying to get rid of some of the complexity.
That too. You can imagine a large server box filled with tens of thousands of Docker containers, and each one has a small custom Java image in it that only has 6 modules plus your application, and it's doing REST calls with JSON over an InfiniBand network, and yeah, that's microservices could work pretty well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.